Welcome to the first episode of Roster Swap Recap. So in this episode, we're going to talk about the NIP changes as well as the Astralis North and Optic changes. So NIP, Dennis is going to be joining and he's going to be replacing Exist. I think a lot of people are apprehensive about this roster move because Exist is known as one of the best players in NIP. He's a great player, and he's also a long tenured player who's been with the organization for a really long time, and he's basically a legendary player. Recently, he hasn't been very good, and there's been a huge dip in form, but he's known as an extremely clutch player. And I think that's why a lot of people like him, and a lot of people think he shouldn't have been replaced on this team. I personally think it was the right move to make. I think Dennis is an amazing player. He has insane aim, and as everyone should know, he's one of the best USP pistol players in the entire world. I think he adds more firepower to this team. I think he fits really well into their style. So I think a lot of people were having questions about Dennis as an IGL because that's the role he's going to be stepping into. That's what Exist was previously in IGL, and Dennis has done IGL work before. And yeah, but I think a lot of people know him as a fragger and know how good Dennis is, and don't really think that he should be playing this IGL role. And I think that's why some of these people are downplaying this and calling this a bad roster move. I think he'll fit well as an IGL for the reason that NIP runs a very free-form style. Exist isn't a mastermind in-game leader himself, so they never ran complex strategies. Their strategies are mostly just getting into bomb sites, throwing a couple nades, smokes, whatever utility to get in, and then just relying on aim and just some team playing coordination like that. It wasn't super strict setups and things, systems like MSLs in North that can really limit star players, but MSL system plays up the plays up the team play aspect and makes a lot of these players maybe not perform as well statistically, but tends to get some better results as a team and can help your team when you don't have a lot of good fraggers. So I think a strategy or a system like that isn't needed whatsoever. For NIP, as you can see, they have talent all across the board. Draken is their AWPer. He's a good AWPer. Rez is their entry fragger. He's a good young player like Draken. Forrest and GetRight are two of the old tenured players like Exist, but seem to have better form and have kept their form more consistently through the past couple years, which is one of the main reasons Exist has been kicked. And Dennis has the potential to be one of the best players in the world, as I've outlined before. This great pistol play is one of the key trademarks about him. So yeah, I think overall Dennis isn't going to have to do too much work. He's been in this IGL role before. He knows how to do it, and he doesn't have to do much. You just getting this team together and say, all right, let's hit A. Let's fucking shoot these dudes in the head. As simple as that. All right, I'm sure there's more complex things that go into it, but overall, it's not a very complex system that they're going to be running at NIP, and I think that's how GetRight and Forrest like it. Yeah, all right, so moving on to Astralis. Astralis is going to lose KRB. I don't know exactly how to pronounce his name, so I think I'm getting it there, KRB. I'm just going to do that. If I'm fucking it up, someone let me know. They're gaining Magisk Boy, whatever, Magisk, from Optic. And so Astralis' current roster is Device, Dupree, Glaive, Zipix, and Magisk. And I think it's a pretty solid roster. It seemed pretty evident that Magisk wasn't the one that Astralis was looking for, the player that they were looking for when they let go of KRB, or when North signed him, I guess, because his contract ran out. It seemed like they were going to get Config because North got rid of Config and picked up KRB, and it seemed as though Config would have been the perfect player to go to Astralis. He was one of the best players in the world this past year, top 3 for sure. He played a amazing 2017. and overall was a dominant player. And I think, especially in a system like I outlined, MSL system in North, that really constricts some of these star players and constricts their impact, the amount of frags they can get in a round and in a game and overall. So I think Config would have been a perfect fit into Astralis. Although it makes perfect sense why North didn't let him get there. And I'll explain that when we get to the North section. So I think Astralis gaining Magisk is a good gain. It's not a bad game. Maybe I shouldn't say it's good. Maybe it's in the middle. It's a neutral move, because I think KRB was a good player. He was a very solid player, and he played an entry fragging role. So I don't think he was in a position to frag out all the time, and I don't think he was set up as well as other people like Device was and Dupree before he started opping were. So I think KRB wasn't in a role where he's supposed to get tons of kills, and that played to Astralis' advantage, because I think KRB could have played in a role that was a carry role, excuse me, and as a support player, and could have played a role like that. But Astralis needs an entry fragger, needs someone where Device can be second person in, and needs a first person in front of him. And I think KRB did that perfectly. So I think you lose the entry fragging aspect that KRB can bring, but I think you get a better overall player in Magisk. I think Magisk has better aim and overall is just a better player, but I'm not sure if he can play the entry fragging role better than KRB could. So that could really limit Astralis, and that could make Astralis look like a much worse team. I'm not sure how this is going to shake out, but that's just some thoughts I have about it. Moving on to North, they're gaining KRB and Mertz, and they're losing Cajun B and Config. So losing Config is a crushing blow, and I think that just really, really hurts North. KRB, although could play, is a very good player, and he could definitely play in a star player role. He could play in that support player role and be a carry for your team. So I think if they're losing Config, they got pretty much the next best they could reasonably get in the Danish scene in KRB. But again, not as good as Config. So, you know, it's tough. They go 2 steps back but 1 step forward with this move, in my opinion. Now they're gaining Mertz, which is a great move, in my opinion, because he's a Danish player and he's from North Academy, and most importantly, he's an opper. They had Cajun B as their opper previously. Cajun B is not an opper. He can op very well, but he's not a main opper. Cajun B ops sort of like if you compare it to Simple, where you do not want Simple on your team as your main opper. If Simple is on your team as your main opper, you're in a bad position. That is not what you want. Now, that's not to say Simple's a bad opper, because he's not. Simple is a great opper, but it's a totally different style and totally different way that he ops versus a main opper. The way that Guardian ops versus the way that Simple ops is vastly different, and you need the style that Guardian would bring to your team, which is a consistent opper that, yeah, you can have oppers that are aggressive or oppers that are passive, but I think an opper like Guardian is consistent and can consistently hit shots, whereas Simple is kind of an opper that just goes crazy and is super overly aggressive and doesn't play opper angles. He plays different angles to help out the team in different ways. I don't think Simple could play angles that Guardian plays and be as effective as he is. So to connect that back to what I'm saying about Cajun B, I think Cajun B is an opper that can pick up the op as a side tool. I think Cajun B is a rifler, and that's how he wants himself to be, as he has joined Optic and said that he is going to stay as a rifler and will not be opping, as a main opper at least. Clearly, that's what he wants to do himself. He was forced into the main opping role by MSL for North because they don't have another main opper on that team. I think that was just a flaw in how the team was built, and I think there should have been another player like Mertz or someone else that should have been brought to this team earlier on. Cajun B really struggled with the op. There was certain tournaments and certain parts of the year where he was good because he's a good player with the op, but he is not a main opper and cannot play the specific role of a main opper. He's more of a secondary opper, like I referenced earlier. So I think Mertz is a main opper, and he has been in that North Academy team where he's been able to play against the North players, and he's been able to have the organization and all the North players watch over him and kind of see how he plays and get a good fit for what kind of player he is. So I think that's a great move to bring him up to North. And I think Cajun B, whereas I don't think he's a bad player, I don't know if he deserved to be cut from this team. It makes sense. And he definitely, whether he's going to be cut or not, he definitely needed a role change to be an effective player currently in the pro scene. In Tier 1, I should say. So, yeah, we're going to move to the Optic lineup now. So Optic is going to be completely revamping the roster. They're losing their entire 5-man roster and getting an entire new 5-man roster. So their previous 5-man roster was Freiburg as their in-game leader, Magisk, who has since gone to Astralis, HS, Mixwell, and Alu. So they're gaining Stanislaw, Config, Gade, Cajun B, and Shazam. Shazam from Misfits, Cajun B and Config from North, as I previously mentioned. And Stanislaw was on Liquid, but has spent the past couple months in just a nowhere. Just no roster, nothing at all, just not doing anything. But his previous team was Liquid. So Stanislaw is going to be their in-game leader, and Shazam is going to be their AWPer. I think this is a better roster, although I didn't see the need to completely replace the 5-man lineup. I thought Magisk was a very good player on this team. I think for sure the best player on Optic was Magisk. HS was struggling. Freiburg as an in-game leader didn't work out very well at all. Mixwell was a decent, good player. And I thought Alu was a decent and a good AWPer. Is a pretty good AWPer. Overall, if possible, I would have kept Alu over Shazam. I feel like Alu is a better, more consistent AWPer than Shazam is. I think Shazam is a little bit overrated and can have very good tournaments, but also tournaments where he's non-existent. I feel like Alu does a better job at being good over that entire pace. And I think consistency is the best trait you can have in an AWPer. Seeing as he has the most expensive weapon on your team for the most part. So let's break down these moves. So Stanislaw, basically instead of Freiburg, trading out the in-game leader role. I think Stanislaw is perfect for this team. I'm surprised he's back here because he kind of did a real dick move to Optic the last time he was there, leaving to join Liquid, leaving him in a really shitty spot. I'm very surprised to let him back in. But as a team, it makes total sense. I think he was the best in-game leader you can get on the market right now, besides Sean Garris. Even probably better than Sean. I just think he has better fragging potential than Sean. But Sean was another player that I think is very good as an in-game leader as well. Config is what a great roster pickup. Config, like I said, one of the best, top 3, top 5 players in the world. To get him onto this Optic lineup is a huge boosted fragging power. Instantly, with Config, they are a much better team and can reach much better heights than this original Optic team could ever reach, for the reason that Config is just that good. Gade is a younger player, younger to the scene, newer to the scene, kind of like HS was, so very similar in that aspect. I'm not sure how Gade's going to work out. I told TI it could be much worse than HS was. I thought HS had certain tournaments where he was good, but there's a lot of stuff that has since come out since the team's been disbanded behind the scenes with HS, such as going to boot camps and bringing his girlfriend at the time, I believe, to a serious boot camp. That's unconfirmed, but a lot of players have come out and said that this is what happened. So, yeah, moving on from that. Cajun B as a rifler, it's going to be awesome to see. I think a lot of people think of him as a AWPer and don't really know how good of a rifler he can really be. So I'm excited to see Cajun B on Optic and see what this if he can reinvent himself as a rifler and get himself back into these top tier teams, Danish teams, as a rifler. Shazam, I think Shazam is a good offer. As I've said, I think Alu is better, but I don't know what was going on with Alu. Maybe they couldn't keep him for whatever reason. If that was the case, Shazam is a good offer, and I don't think he's a bad pickup. I think he's a decent pickup. I think there is better options, like I said, keeping Alu, or definitely picking up JDM. Getting Config and Stan and Cajun could have definitely maxed out the money that Optic has, and I don't know if they could have then afforded to get another high-tier player like JDM, or a well-known player, or expensive one, that is. So the Shazam pickup makes sense, although I do think JDM and Alu would have been better. Shazam is a good offer and did some good work on Misfits, and was one of Misfits' better players. So I think this is a good lineup. Overall, I think all these teams are gaining. Every team from NIP gaining Dennis, and then Astralis gaining Magisk, which is, I'd say, in the middle, but if anything, a gain. I don't think it was a loss. North gaining KRB and Mertz. Mertz is the big name there, for sure, the big reason why that's an improvement. And then Optic gaining Stan, Config, Gade, Cajun, and Shazam. I think these are all good moves, where I think some of these teams could have made better moves. They were all very good, solid moves. All right. Thank you all. Sorry about that. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you.